Jack. Rod and Don are on. Is Kim on? So not yet. Okay. Is Chris on? Not yet. Okay. Tamara? Not yet. Okay. I know Lou's on. Jeff's on. Is Frank on?
Frank is on.
Woohoo! All right, Frank. Excellent. Hey, Matt, are you on from Colliers?
Yep. Hello.
All right. Is there anyone else on from Colliers? All right. Not just hearing any. Dean, I saw you. Is Aris on?
He is not. I believe it's just me tonight.
Okay. That's fine. And is anyone from Werner on? Is Max on?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Hey, Max, welcome. And we know we've got Prue. Is Corinne on? Corinne Dyer? Not yet. Okay. And is there anybody else that's on that I have not called? Okay. So nothing. So that's our attendance.
Okay.
All right. With that, we can call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. I think we did away with the pledge at our last couple of virtual meetings, so we'll skip right into it. I think the first order of business is to review and act on the minutes from our last regular meeting, which was March 24th, and our special meeting on April 6th. Prue distributed the minutes for those two meetings earlier. Did anyone have any comments or questions, or can I get a motion to consider?
I'll make the motion.
Who's that? Hal?
Second.
Al.
Second,
All
Lou.
Oh, Lou
Right.
is there.
Hello, Prue.
Hi.
All right. So we get a motion and a motion from Hal and a second from Lou. Are there any comments, changes, corrections? Not hearing any. So all in favor to approve?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions or no's? Okay. So we'll take that as unanimous.
Okay.
All right. I'll do a roll call vote for anything else that we vote on. Okay. So next is communications. I didn't receive anything specific. Owners Rep Colliers, Matt, you want to take us through invoices to start?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. We do have two invoices tonight in the packet. One is STL, or Special Testing Lab. This is our material testing company. And that invoice has been reviewed by Colliers. And then the second one is Werner's fourth pay app. And the total of the combined is $481,502.99. Both the invoice and the pay apps were included in the packet. Does anyone have any questions on either of them?
I did not. Not hearing any questions. Can I get a motion to approve? Do you want to take given the size of Werner's, do we want to do these individually or together?
I don't have any problem doing it together.
Together. All right.
I move to approve as submitted.
Okay.
LBE, Jack Slane.
Yep. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Who's that, Jeff?
Yeah, they look good to me.
Okay, great. So I'll go down the list on votes, roll call style. I vote yes to approve. Hal?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
And Frank?
Yes.
All right, great.
Hey, guys, Chris is here as well. I say yes.
Chris.
Oh, great. Hey, Chris.
I'm here. I'm alive.
Great. Glad you could join. Okay, so that's it for the invoices. Matt, you want to take us through any budget updates and then on to change orders?
Sure, yeah. So everybody should have also gotten the current financial summary report that we take a look at each time. Everything in terms of invoicing and such is moving along as planned. One thing I did want to request action on tonight with relation to the budget is with respect to material testing. So we had originally the committee had approved a $15,000 initial purchase order for material testing. And it was, with the acknowledgement that likely we were going to need more of that budgetary line item. We have a total of $25,000 in that line item. And I'd request that the remainder of the $10,000 be approved for the next purchase order. After this, the invoice that was approved tonight, we have a little bit over $1,100 left, as you can see right here. So $13,900 has been billed against that, and $1,100 has not to date. So next time an invoice comes through, we're likely going to exceed that and therefore need another purchase order for it.
Okay.
Is there any reason why there should be more coming?
Yeah, we still have more material testing to happen. We had $25,000. It's about what we had anticipated to end up spending. We started off with the 15 just as a starting point, but always anticipated more to be needed.
But Matt, we still have 10,000 sitting in the available column?
Correct, right here.
Right. Okay.
You can see my screen. We had an original purchase order of $15,000. The overall budget line item is $25,000, and therefore there's $10,000 left in that budget item without touching contingency that I'm requesting we get another purchase order for to continue billing against.
All right, do we have to move to approve it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you'll have to move to approve a new purchase order for the additional $10,000.
All right, I
Motion to approve the expenditure.
Second.
All right. Prue, are you clear on the motion?
Well, it's to approve the first part of the testing, the material testing, correct?
It would be to approve an additional $10,000 purchase order.
Oh, an additional. Okay.
Against the material testing line item.
Sorry, I'm texting Corinne because she's trying to get into the call. So.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay.
I just got in. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I sent her hi, Corinne.
Yeah, thank you, Hal.
You're welcome.
So additional 10,000. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
So who touched that purchase order?
It was Rod. Rod made the motion, and
Yeah.
Jack
Seconded. Okay.
And what's your question, Hal?
Corinne, you have to, I assume that it has to come from, Matt, the purchase order has to come from the town, right? So maybe we should
Absolutely.
update Corinne since she just got here.
Yeah, I'll be updating her with everything nonetheless tomorrow just to confirm. But yes, Corinne, what was just moved and seconded was to add a second purchase order against material testing of the remainder $10,000 that's in that budgetary line item.
Okay. Do you want to do a change order to the existing PO?
Whichever is easier for you is fine.
Yeah, I'll probably increase the existing PO by 10,000. So that's just easier for you guys to track. And that's for special testing lab, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So the motion is to increase the purchase order by 10,000 for materials testing. Any more comments or questions, or shall we go to the vote?
Is there an offset to that?
I'm not sure. What are you asking, Jeff?
Well, we can't increase the budget by 10, so is it coming from another line?
No, we have $10,000 in that budget line item.
Oh, okay. All set.
Okay, great. So I'll go down the list in terms of roll call vote. I vote to approve. Al?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
All right. Lou?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Frank?
Yes.
All right, great, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Anything else, Matt, on that, or should we move on to next item?
No, as we do the Monday prior to every building committee meeting, we're reviewing this in addition to the contingency log and such. So you'll see we're continuing to track several items down against the contingency. Moving on, kind of a preemptive of construction change orders. We have an ad service request from Silver Petrocelli. Ultimately, really, this is from their geotechnical engineer, Geo Insight. This ad service was also included in your packet. If you recall from several of our previous meetings over the last couple months, the geotechnical engineer has been out on site to review a few different items, one of which was a ledge that was found in the footprint of the Cart Martin addition. There was also some added information and site visit that Geo Insight provided with respect to the parking lot base, which we've been talking about. And they also reviewed some unsuitable materials that were found within the clubhouse footprint. And so their construction administration services were not included within the contract, Silver Petrocelli's contract. So they're seeking a hourly not to exceed ad service of $3,500. And if you read through the actual Geo Insight proposal, you'll see that to date they've actually expended about $2,400 for those several site visits that they've made to the sites thus far. And they don't see the need to expend more than $3,500. Also, we're not, bringing them out currently for any reason. So this would just be for any further unforeseen conditions. So, Dean, do you want to add anything to that?
No, our contract, as Matt said, had excluded CA services for Geo Insight, and their contract had excluded it. So again, we carried them for their initial borings and their initial report, but obviously these additional services were CA related, and again, we never had a contract, nor did you have a contract with Geo Insight, so we're just looking to try to get them paid.
And Matt, if I heard you correctly, there were no additional services expected. So if nothing else is to occur, then we would, our total would be $2,400 expended, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Craig, everything that Geo does is so great. They're all about footings and soil conditions and obviously backfills and the parking lot resolved. There's really not much below grade soil conditions that we're going to encounter. I'm not going to say it's not possible because we could hit something, but structurally speaking, our foundations and footings are in, our cart barn is up, our parking lot's resolved. So we don't anticipate any more. There's nothing scheduled for them to come out and see, but they're just carrying that last $1,000 just in case.
Yeah. Okay. And then because this was not carried to this point, Matt, it would come out of contingency. Is that the plan?
Yeah, it is carried as a line in the contingency and that's reflected on the financial summary report that was included. So that's inclusive already of being encumbered.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on this one?
Matt, and it was encumbered for $3,500?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll move it.
All right.
I'll
That's
second.
Jack.
Lou.
Hi, Lou. Thank you. All right. I vote to approve. Hal?
I'm still a little confused as to why we're voting on this if it's already been encumbered in the committee just has to approve the contract. Is that what it is?
Correct. You need to approve the additional services to Silver Petrocelli's contract.
Okay.
Because they're going to get paid through Silver Petrocelli.
So, well, I have no way of billing against this because it doesn't exist as a contract. So I have no mechanism to bill this amount through my contract without an increase to that contract. So we're really just asking for that increase of a not to exceed $3,500.
So we're amending your contract so we can pay you so you can pay him.
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you. I vote yes.
Okay. Jack?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
All right. You guys are great. Appreciate it. All right. What else do you have for us, Matt?
Yeah,
All right.
Matt, I'll prepare a G802 on that and get it over to you the next day or two.
Great. Thanks, team. So moving on into change orders. The first change order that's being presented is change order number 9. You may recall that we've reviewed this in a variation in the past. This is for temporary measures to accelerate the cart barn occupancy. And the past discussion, this included a bunch of trim and carpentry and siding around the cart barn to expedite its completion and certificate of occupancy so that we could try and get Jim and the pro shop in. Due to all of various different schedule impacts outside of the project, it was reduced down scope wise to expediting the shipping of fans and louvers. And excuse me, the shipping of the fans and louvers equated to $660. And Werner has essentially requested that they'd like to be paid for, they've included time for their project manager and superintendent at 4 hours apiece. In asking for further explanation on that from Werner, it's being requested based upon the amount of time that the project team from Werner spent in putting together the original change order, which was then reduced down to just the HVAC. Max, I know you're on. Is that an accurate explanation? Do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's what we're requesting.
And the total of this is $1,890.40.
So, all right, I'll start. So, I just want to make sure I heard your summary correctly, and for everyone else's benefit, to see if they heard it the same way. So, we originally asked for a change order to do a number of things to try and expedite the completion of the cart barn. I think I don't recall off the top of my head, and I didn't take notes on it or have it in front of me, exactly what the original first draft of that change order was, but ultimately we decided not to proceed with that work. I think it was a relatively large number, and given the circumstances, we didn't need to engage that work, but we did decide to move forward with the expedited shipping for the HVAC. You pointed that out at $660, but ultimately that $660, once the additional time is added in for project manager and superintendent, and then markups, it turns into $1,900.
If you guys are looking for a little bit more from the construction, we did draft sketches. We had held meetings with trades. We really came up with a plan on best avenues to produce for the time frame we were in. Really driving from the permit and any way to get this thing turned over. Yep. So there was a lot of expedited time, and I think we presented them twice in previous meetings. With the coronavirus and the fallout of schedules, this kind of dwindled to a minor cost, but there was a lot of effort and time that went into it.
So this is where I need help from you, Max, and I also need help from the committee members, because this isn't my day job, and I don't know what common and industry practice is. I appreciate the fact that Warner did put in time to reach out to their subcontractors and get rates and gather information so that they could provide a response to the original change order. But I don't know if it's customary for you to be compensated for that time and effort if that change order was rejected or amended. And it seems to me that it's kind of tough to swallow a $1,900 bill on a $600 shipping item. So,
and not for anything, but every time we get a change order from Werner, there's 4 or 8 hours for project managers and superintendents. They don't ever spend a half hour doing anything. I mean, what was this other than call somebody and say, go faster?
Well, in fairness, Jack,
with all respect.
In fairness, I think this is a little bit of apples and oranges. I think if it was just the expedited shipping for the HVAC, it would have been a relatively short amount of time. But if I heard you correctly, Max, really what this involves is an effort to recoup some of the time and the energy and effort that you guys put into the original change order, which included all that work, the carpentry work, and with the trim and the siding and things like that.
There were several meetings held. We were taken out of our contracted items to ask for expedited review of construction, and our request is simply to identify that there was extended efforts that took place that we're trying to get reflections on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the effort. I do. I just don't know what's customary for the industry, whether that effort is paid for, whether we accept or reject the change order or not.
Craig,
guys, this is Rob.
Yeah,
go ahead.
In my 35 years of doing this, I've never seen a contractor request time for a proposal or a change order. As a consultant, I don't get paid for my proposals, and this is the first for me.
Yeah, guys, this is Chris. I'll support what Rod's kind of saying is, to be honest, I think Werner, this falls within your general, duties for what we've already purchased through our underlying contract. So I can't support paying these additional fees. It'd be one thing if there was a major redesign or some other truly laborious exercises, but I don't think this is something that I can get behind.
Hey, Chris and Ron, this is Don. I support exactly what you both said, that typically don't get paid for work behind the scenes that should be part of your daily responsibilities. And just as a perspective, if the total cost is $660, if general conditions were 10%, you're talking about $66 markup on this, not whatever you have there, $920.
Yeah, but to play devil's advocate here, guys, just to really get our arms around the issue, I don't think Max is saying that all this time went into expediting the HVAC delivery. I think it's clear that they did do this work. They did spend a lot of time and energy trying to. If you remember, we were asking them to contact their subcontractors and get rates and provide a detailed summary of what it would cost to do the larger change order, the trim work, and a lot of the other things involving the siding and things like that. So there's no question that the work was done, and it's above and beyond the work that was related to the ultimate change order here, which is the HVAC expedited shipping. It really comes down to whether Werner should be compensated above and beyond their contract for this work, investigating a change order that was ultimately amended down to a much smaller scope.
Yeah, but Chris, again, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Jack.
No, you go. Right. You have more experience than I do.
No, what I'm just saying, guys, is I don't want to set a precedent in this that every time we ask for something, we're going to expect a bill for those hours while we explore the ask. I don't think that the relationship between us and Werner should be as such that every time we ask to explore something, we're looking at a bill. There are certain inherited responsibilities being a CM or general contractor in this case that, I don't want to set a precedent here that we're going to pay for every hour that is outside of the underlying contract, because or else we should just say, all right, Werner, you go build this and I'll go contact the subs to go get the pricing to save a couple of bucks. I don't think this is the responsibility of us to pay this.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further there, Chris. I appreciate those comments. If we had not amended this change order and instead just rejected it unilaterally and then followed up with a subsequent change order that included just the HVAC expedited delivery, then the amount would be much lower. So Max, I'm trying to play devil's advocate on your behalf here, but if there's anything else you want to add for the committee's benefit for us to consider, now's your chance.
I think I understand the frustration. It's unfortunate that this. I think it's fortunate that the committee saved because of the scheduling issues. It's unfortunate for us because we did expunge a lot of time and we were doing it on good faith under request. I think we probably stepped in it by taking initiative and pricing it on our own. I think for the future, we'll ask for more informative direction from the architects, that we were directed to price things and not whimsically doing it, creating costs and sketches and additional meetings. So I guess if there's more direction down the road, we'll look for it a little bit more formally.
And Matt, to that point, Max, I think you're right, that if you think you're going to extend time from a project manager or superintendent and do work beyond what you think is in your daily scope, then you should notify everyone that, hey, we can pursue this, but we expect to be compensated for that work. And say yes or no, and then there's no question afterwards.
Right, and then if there's time associated with it, we're going to try to identify it per item as they're asked of us.
Right.
So I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't want to set this up like this. This is going to prevent us from exploring other options in the future. I'm customary to the 10% general conditions, the 12%, whatever the agreements say. But I got to be honest, this doesn't sit well.
Yeah, I agree, Chris. I mean, if every time we ask for a change order, we're going to get billed for time, that's not acceptable. I'm sorry.
And we shouldn't get billed for done. We should be notified if Warner sees it's a problem, but it should be the general protocol of standard markup on change orders.
Standard markup, but not time served or time expended.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like how many emails a day can we send without getting a bill? You know, it's like, it sets a certain, like I said, precedent that I don't think we should live by for this project.
All right, I move to reject the change order. Which number is it? Number 9?
Yeah.
I'll second, Rod.
All right. So Jack with the move, Rod with the second. Any further discussion?
One thing, so this is Matt.
What are we gaining?
Can I just add one thing, guys? Is that they have already expedited the shipping. That is done and completed. So it may be suggested that this one gets rejected and another one gets submitted for the HVAC expedited shipping only. That was done, and it's still useful.
Honest to God, the expedited shipping. You mean they sent an email saying go fast? What did they do?
I'm not saying that you approved before the 8 hours of time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the expedited shipping value of $660 is a reasonable thing for them to request. That's all.
Do we even have backup that just cost them something to expedite? I don't want to.
It is in the change order. It is in the change order, and it's right behind it.
Yeah, the 200, you know.
No, there's actually
freight cost.
A freight cost
Open it up.
as backup to the change order.
And just per the contract as well, some of the other add-ons would apply, correct, Matt? So the 2% for insurance, the bond, the 15% for overhead and fee, that would also be added to the 660, correct?
To the 660, yes.
Hey, Matt, this is Rod.
Yeah.
Change order 9 has been put on the table for rejection. If Warner wants to submit another change order for $660, they're free to do so.
Thank you, Rod.
All right. Any further discussion before we take a vote on Jack's motion to reject, seconded by Rod? Okay. So this will be a vote to reject. So I vote to reject. Al?
I agree. I vote yes or reject.
Yep. Okay. Jack?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Yes. Don?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Let's see. Lou?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous. So Max, I know you guys. I know you guys had spent the time and energy, and we appreciate that effort. I think communication is important. I agree with Chris's sentiment that we have to be careful about how we proceed because we don't want to limit our ability to make requests for change orders, and you guys have to take the time to research those. But we'll maybe Matt from Colliers and you and I can have a conversation tomorrow to figure out what process might make sense going forward. I don't know, Max, if you wanted to comment at all, or if we should.
No, I understand. I understand. I think this condition was unique, and we'll definitely discuss. But I understand.
Okay. All right. And one other thing I'd like to ask is, if you're not speaking, if you could just put yourself on mute. We've got a couple of phones I think have some background noise, so that would be helpful. Appreciate that. And Matt, do we have any other change orders?
Yes. We have 3 more.
Okay.
So the next one probably looks familiar from last weekend. Last meeting. This is the updated version of change request number 11. This is associated with the driveway and parking lot. So last time, or during the special meeting, I guess it was last week, the committee gave a directive to move forward with option 2 on this change request. And that directive has been given from Silver Petrocelli to Werner. So Werner is moving forward with that. And we've been coordinating the delivery schedule with the town. So they are moving forward on this work. Essentially the revision here is to identify that number 2 is what was selected. And also Werner has acknowledged, if you look at the very top of the second page, has acknowledged that they're requesting an extra 9 days in the schedule to do this scope of work, this added scope of work.
So I have a procedural question. I guess this is probably directed at either Hal or Jack, but given that we had a special meeting last week to address this specific item and that the amounts are unchanged from where we left off, the only thing that's being considered now or in front of us now is that the paperwork caught up with us. So I don't know if the vote from last week carries or if we should or need to vote again.
I think we still need to vote on the change order because we voted on which selection we were going to take, because if you remember last week, Matt gave us 2 options on the change order. So the committee still does need to approve change order number 11 so it can be moved forward. But we may have a little bit more discussion because people weren't on the call last Monday night.
Right.
And also, they want another 9 days to do this, which is basically pave the parking lot. So I don't know why it requires another 9 days.
Well, because the other part of that is 9 days has an associated cost with it. So
that's the point. I don't care about the days. I care about the cost they're going to charge us for the days.
the cost should have been in the change order. You can't just say 9 days and then we see the change order later for extended schedule of 9 days.
You know, that's what they just did.
Well, that's the problem.
Can I jump in?
Yeah,
Matt. Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
There's milestones in the agreement pertaining to turning the course over to golf operations. A lot of this change in design or scope that was supposed to be with the town that was shifted into the contractor's responsibilities is being reflected in that time frame. I don't think we are pursuing the 9 days in addition to the project. I think we're identifying the 9 days in relationship to the phasing of turnover to the golf operation.
So is there a cost? Is there a cost?
Well, then that...
9 days? Matt,
Whatever's in the change, whatever's in that change order is specific to this task. There's nothing being pursued outside of this.
And I think that'll raise a lot of fears.
Yeah, but not as written. As written, it requires 9 days. At the end of this, this thing is going to have 180 extra days of friggin' general conditions. You can't do it like this.
Well, hold on. I think we ran into this last meeting where or 2 meetings ago, where there was a comment about adding time to the project. We expressed the same concern, and then I think Mike Lambert changed the wording so that it was clear that the additional days related to the car farm completion, not the overall project. And then we moved forward. So I think I'm hearing Max say the same applies here. There's a milestone with respect to turning over the golf, turning over the parking lot so that the golf course could open. And clearly, I think that milestone was originally intended to be in March, so or early April. So we're beyond that. So I think it's reasonable from a milestone, but I think if we can clarify that this won't add to the overall project, we can proceed.
It cannot.
Matt, is that something that you would be able to amend?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Matt, do you have a red pen? Do you want to write on there based on turnover to golf operations milestone?
But not for additional general conditions. That's the problem.
Yeah, but we can clarify that.
Okay.
I think it's a good clarification, but I think it's something we can clarify.
We also, on the other side of the coin, we need to be identified that there were issues that pertain to not turning over the parking lot and the golf course to the town under the milestones listed, and we want to be protecting ourselves at the same time. So I hope you guys appreciate the two sides of the coin and our interest in making sure we're protected. 10 years, 5 years from now, they look back and say, well, you didn't turn over the parking lot in time or the golf course in time.
Yep.
Not that anybody can forget about the coronavirus in 20.
That's a fair point.
I'm the one complaining about all this. I don't have any problem with your benchmarks or whatever. That's not my concern. At this point, whether you finish in November or next March, I'm not sure it's going to make a lot of difference. But I don't want to pay you for being late at the end of the project. And there's no way we should be adding 9 days to the project completion date if you're going to be looking for more money at the end. That's my only concern.
Right, and I think I've commented on that. If we need it in writing,
right,
you can either redline it or we can revise it. But we do need to identify that there was a clear design change and a scope change that added to our scope of work. There's additional work involved for our team to complete the parking lot that was taken away from the DPW. And yes, there's more days involved in that work to accomplish this task, and that's what we're saying in our request. There's 9 additional days worth of work that are taking place with the added scope.
And Max, is it safe to say that the change order as presented reflects the total cost to do this operation? You're going to have 9 more days from your baseline to actual turnover. That's fine, but the cost is represented in the change order.
Yes, the parking lot is a milestone within this project. It does not affect the end date. It's just a turnover milestone that really is addressed in the contract, and we want to address it in the design change.
Okay.
And I think that's fair.
If that's clarified, I'm happy. I just want that clarified. That's all. Hey, Dean, help us out here with this, huh?
Okay.
It's a well-written contract, whoever wrote it.
I make a motion to approve.
As amended?
As amended.
And that was Don?
Yep.
All right.
I'll second, Rod.
All right.
And the amendment,
Any other discussion?
yeah, I have a question. The amendment is just that it's based on the turnover to golf operations, but not on the general conditions?
Based on the milestone.
The milestone.
Turnover to golf operations.
Okay.
Not the overall project. Okay. So we've got a motion, a second. Any other discussion or questions or comments? All right. I vote to approve. Al?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
No.
Okay. Rod?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Kim's not here. Chris?
Yes.
All right. Tamara's not here. Lou?
Yes.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah.
And Frank?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 yeses, 1 no. True.
Right, okay.
Jack was the no. Okay. Next change order.
Next change order is change request number 12. This is work that has been done in preparation for the clubhouse slab and foundation. We've talked about this in the past, but there was unsuitable fill that was within the footprint of the foundation of the new clubhouse, and this is also tied into the geotechnical, one of their site visits out to the site, where they recommended an enforcement material or fabric be installed. You can see that in there's a quote from Grosso, who's the site contractor, and on the second page they've identified the labor, which was 2 hours, and the amount of rolls that were needed. Okay, so their cost is $1,332. Warner is requesting additional 4 hours from the superintendent's time and 2 hours from the project manager, and then there's the markups, and the total comes to $2,395.31.
Okay. So this additional
Max,
time
do you wanna...
is specific to the request, right?
Max, you want to add
Yes.
something to that? Okay.
Yes, this is again the same condition where our field manager met with the site company. We developed sketches and highlighted areas that were unsuitable. We collectively had meetings with the geotech and aligned everything. And it was our interpretation of what transpired.
Yeah.
I understand the committee's position, but and if we don't want to be developing sketches and pressing to get it accomplished, then I'll back those guys down from spending the additional time. But that is what we're proposing, and it's based on work that took place in the field around this condition.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this for either Max or Matt?
Matt, this is Hal. Do we have this already encumbered?
This is, yes.
So it's part of the encumbered funds. It's already taken out of contingency, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's held in contingency at the moment.
But it's already encumbered, so it's not, it's
Yep.
coming out of our available. Okay. Then I'll make the motion to accept change order number 12 as proposed.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, I heard a couple, but I definitely heard Lou, so I'm going to take Lou for the second.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
discussion?
Well, I am impressed that the project manager only spent 2 hours this time. That's kind of a first. But other than that, I don't quite get it. I'm going to vote no, but, this is me.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, this is Chris. This is, every time we get a change order, it's an extra $1,000, regardless to Werner. I don't know. What is the overhead cover?
And this is Don. That's $670 out of, 50% markup on GC. So, my experience has been, even though it's from a CM standpoint, you have your 10 or 12% GC markup on a change order because it's work required. But we're all over the place. We're either 50%, 10%, I don't know what the percentages are, but in this case, it's 50%.
And how do we kind of support knowing what the superintendent's going to get? I guess it's like, did Dean send out a sketch or a memo? That memo gets forwarded. The superintendent meets with the subcontractor, goes through it, make sure they understand it, so that they can submit a price. And I guess what do we have in our base contract as far as what the responsibility of the field staff? Because right now we can't deviate from our own drawings without incurring extra costs, and that's not how it's supposed to be, or that's not the intent.
That is not the intent. Agreed.
But I will say that, this relates specifically to the unsuitables in the corner of the clubhouse near the kitchen, right? And obviously those were unforeseen. And I do know that Dean was working, pretty collaboratively with Geotech and with Silver to address this issue. I don't know what's in our contract. I think that's a good.
So, Craig, we're just trying to impress upon you guys that it is uncustomary in some of us on the committee's line of work to sort of entertain costs or even submit costs for this type of time. You know, in my profession, and I do what Warner does, is I can't justify billing myself out for time associated with doing things like this, because that is my position, is to sort of facilitate the design as bought, as well as any variations or any possible changes within reason. And I don't think that this was a major task. So I think the sentiment to send in $600 to $1,000 cost with every change order for the superintendent's time and the PM's time, it's just a tough pill to swallow. It also, to me, says to us that, all right, they worked, instead of 40 hours that week, they worked 44 and 42. Or I guess, how is 8 or 10 hour day broken up? I don't know. It's just.
I mean, I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I see time worse than I do. I mean,
All fair questions, guys.
Can I ask what, I don't have a contract in front of me, but if you looked at the G702 or 703, what percent are general conditions of the total contract? It might be some gauge to see what's expected for any work generated, and that's where we've been referring to 10 or 12% and items that we're used to. And maybe there needs to be an agreement on, okay, when you submit a change order, you're entitled to the standard general condition markup. And it shouldn't be on, well, we spent a lot of time this day because we did a lot of sketches. Well, sometimes you do them, sometimes you don't. It should be this shouldn't even be a discussion. It should be a standard markup for submitting change orders.
And Matt or Corinne, do you have any, or Dean, do any of you guys have comments or thoughts on the contract? What the contract calls for?
I'd have to check the specific language of it, and I can certainly look at what the percentage of general requirements and conditions is on schedule values. I don't know off the top of my head at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm the same, Craig. I don't know that general condition markup is, but I can tell you that customarily when we would see a change order, this one is unique because it's so low in value, but irregardless, typically the contractor's markup is consistent regardless of it being a $1,000 change order or a $100,000 change order. To say that we're spending a certain amount of hours on one change order and different hours on another is surely not what we're accustomed seeing from contractors.
And Max, let me ask you for your side of it.
I'll back up Dean's and everybody else's. It's not customary.
Okay.
And I've voiced this opinion before.
Yeah. So Max, help us understand from your perspective, like, is this customary for how your business operates in prior projects?
I think that we're placing our time that's spent on the additional work and unforeseens that's related to it, and that's how we're approaching it. I hear the voice of the committee, and if that's not being accepted or well received, I'll talk to the guys about how they're positioning that time and look at those change orders without that involved. It is real time set, and that they approach it that way, and they tap their time to those things, and that's how we present it. And hearing from the committee the disgruntledness that's it's raising, I'm willing to do our best to relieve some of that. I do think it's specific for each change, and I think it should be considered not blanket as wiped off, but per item that comes up for discussion. But
I hear the committee, and I'm willing to revise those to address it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I think I speak for everybody when I say that. We appreciate that sentiment, Max, because we recognize that you guys are putting in the effort, but it does feel like it's it just results in a heavy hand, and the impact on our budget is pretty significant, unfortunately. Okay, so I guess we have a motion to approve and a second. We've had some commentary. It sounds like the sentiment is that people are uncomfortable with these additional hours being tacked on. We heard from Max, who understands and hears our frustration. Why don't we just call for a vote and then
hold on. I'd like to make an amendment.
Okay.
The amendment is that we hold off on approving this particular invoice change order and other change orders until we review the contract, find out what exactly the contract language is, and before we move forward.
Second.
Yeah, you can't make that amendment. That's not an amendment to the motion. That's a whole new motion. So.
Okay, then I make a new motion.
Well, you can't. We got to vote on the first one. We got to vote on the first motion first.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to do this right, let's do it right. So.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Hold that thought.
And if Mike Lampard didn't change the request, it's likely in the contract.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Okay, I withdraw my second.
Thanks, Lou.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, it's been a motion, there's no second, so move on, it's done.
Yeah, so no vote and no action on this change order. No vote or amendment required to Rod's point, but I think we can do that. So I think Matt, I think it's you together with Corinne in purchasing to review the contract, understand what should or should not be allowable, and let's have a discussion with Max and Mike. Let's make sure we're all on the same page going forward. If that results in no change to this change order, it can come back at our next meeting and we can take an action at that point. Or if the follow-up discussions do result in a change to this change order, those changes could be made and resubmitted in advance of our next meeting.
All right, I will certainly review the contract again. And we'll set up a meeting to discuss that.
I have it in front of me. I mean, I can only skim through it so fast, but Craig, would you be interested in me forwarding it to you so the committee members can review it themselves as well, or?
And also to me, Corinne, unless Craig's going to circulate.
I think Jack is perfect for this.
Yeah, I think this needs a lawyer.
Jack, this is what Jack does.
Okay, so I
if you
will.
could just send it to Jack and CC me, that would be perfect.
I second that.
No motion.
Hey guys, I just have one thing to add, Craig. This is Chris. One thing is, Grasso's performed this work. They're likely probably going to be submitting a requisition, I imagine, for the month of April here and want to bill for this. Is there any reason that we don't approve Grasso and then just leave the added costs as something to be discussed once the contract's looked at?
Good idea.
I just don't want to penalize the contractors
But wait.
because we can't get
But
something.
change order number 13 has the same thing. We still have the superintendent's time is 2 hours. It's on every change order. So before we
I understand how. What I'm saying is, though, I'm not saying approve it with the time. I'm saying approving this for the contractor's cost so that we don't penalize the contractors while we negotiate with the general contractor. I penalize the subcontractors.
But then you're going to amend it to one cost.
Theory, except
Right.
we don't pay the subcontractors, we only pay the GC.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, we got a GC situation here, and that's how it has to work.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
So, moving forward, I think we should also just, postpone number 13 too, because it's got the same thing on it. We need to get the change orders straightened out, so we don't have this discussion about hours every time they come. So, once we get through the contract, and we all understand where we are, what we can, what we're can and can't bill for, then we take that back. But, we can't even look at number 13 because it's got the same thing on it again. So we're just going to go through the same motion. So I'm going to, before even Matt presents 13, I'm going to ask you.
I wasn't going to.
Oh, you're not gonna?
Not based on the conversation.
Well, anyway, but we're going to need to fix 13 too. So we need to have a process going moving forward.
Okay, so this is.
To add to that, sorry, go ahead. Chris?
No, I'm sorry. I was just wondering, when Rod made a motion and Lou seconded, is that something that's still there?
Lou was
No, it's not.
Okay, so I'm just going to cross it off.
I can help you with that. I can help you with that offline.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I also want to, Matt, I think we're really looking for Colliers to sort of, be our eyes and ears here, and would really appreciate, I think, before we discuss this again, kind of Collier's position and your review and thoughts on the agreement as far as what's clear and fair. I can appreciate Jack going through it, and he's obviously very skilled at this, but, obviously you guys are hired to sort of know this stuff. So if you could also look at it and give us your thoughts on what's fair and what's in the agreement.
Yeah, and Chris,
absolutely, I will be looking at it again.
Yeah, Matt, we shouldn't be the one beating up Werner at our meeting. You should be doing that before it gets to us.
You guys, can I jump into snacks again? I think that it's going to be hard to find a specific on what we're requesting in that agreement. And I think that it's the reality we're presenting the time related to each task. I think it's going to be a lot of effort to really sort through and rake that out that I don't think is worth time well spent. I think the folks should be on the job, and I'm willing to tell you guys earlier, we'll review that in the committee's disliking of it, distaste, and we'll revise those and get them back to you. So I do hear the committee's position, and I'm willing to have our paperwork revised, and I think that is just something we haven't really addressed yet. So that was my offer, is to kind of go back and identify that. We'll work with Colliers and the committee and resubmit them with everybody's understanding.
And hey, Max, this is Don. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. If we can agree as a committee as to the standard markup on change orders, that would cut an hour off of every discussion here. And when there are exceptions where something is really involved and actually adds time to the job, that will be the anomaly where you would ask for days and we would discuss those change orders as specifics. But this should be a standard markup agreed on, and just going forward, that's it.
Yeah. All right. I think we're clear on that point. Thank you, Max. I appreciate it. And thanks, Don. Appreciate that as well. Nothing else on change orders, I take it, Matt? Should we move to the next item?
No, that's it.
Okay. So 2-week project look ahead and remaining steps in advance of the 2020 golf operations commencement. We are, what day is it? It is Tuesday the 14th. We are targeting 2 weeks from Friday for the golf course to open. So I think that the 2-week look ahead and next steps to golf operations opening are kind of part and parcel on this one. So where do we stand on that, Matt?
Well, since we do have Max, maybe I'll just separate those out real quick. Max, if you want to give a quick 2-week look ahead as to what's happening on site.
Yes, we're getting finishes in at the cart barn. Big doors arrived today. We were projecting to have the pavement done, but we've been pushed around with the weather a little bit. We're trying to time out to allow us to get the topsoil spread placed everywhere before we pave, so there's a look ahead of pushing paving off till the very last moment. I think he's got it scheduled for the 30th.
Just to clarify, Max, you're referring to paving of the cart paths.
Yes, cart paths in and around the cart barn. Foundations are in and complete. On the clubhouse, there's under slab plumbing that's taking place right now that's got the inside torn up. We're pushing along with the outside. Aries has been out there daily, reviewing layouts and confirming with our crew on site, pushing hard to get the parking lot and the ponds and the surrounding areas addressed in time for the turnover.
So in terms of the, just to get into a little bit more detail there, in terms of the parking lot, just looking at the calendar, I imagine the next 2 or 3 days you're probably spending time, or Grasso's spending time clearing the parking lot from stockpiles that need to be exported, I'm guessing. And then next week is focused on, or I think on Friday, DPW delivers the 3/4-inch stone. And next week, Grasso's concentrating on all the grading and prep work with the hope that on the Monday the 27th, that the paving, DPW can have their paving crew come in. Is that the plan?
That's what we're pushing for. The weather has created some issues with the amount of rain we've been seeing. But yes, that is the game plan. Gene is confident with it in the field. Grasso's been receptive to timelines, and we have to keep an eye on the weather. It could possibly affect that, but everybody's positive right now.
Yeah, and then you talked, in terms of paving the cart paths, did I hear you correctly that you pushed that back to a couple of weeks to the 30th? Is that right?
Yes, they are trying to leave that to the last item. They really want to have the ability to spread and place the topsoil and not disturb any of the blacktop. The conditions right now are wet and unconductive of spreading the topsoil. So there's some areas that we're adjusting to, but Gene has been daily in touch with Peter, Grace, and everybody on site. And if there's times that we have to shift a little bit, I'm sure we can accommodate. But we don't want to pave the car paths and then try to damage them or affect the work dramatically by additional time that takes. So we're trying to juggle those time frames within the window to open up.
Okay, Craig, this is Don.
Yep.
The plan for the binder course for opening the course, is it only for the 100 spots worth of area, or is it for the entire parking lot?
Great question.
Matt,
I went back and forth on that a couple of times. I don't know where it landed.
We're going to do our best to give as much area as possible, but it'll likely be in the range of the area that's depicted to be turned over.
Okay.
I think we're focused. I think he's got the fire line tap in the weeks ahead. Some of the utilities they're focused on. If they can get that all accomplished, we'll push to have the binder course down on more of an area.
And is the town privy to that plan? That there's no pushback from them, and there's no fighting that we need it all, or we can only take half.
Gene's been talking to them daily.
No, not that I know of. They've been part of those conversations and never said that there would be an issue with it being part and part if it needs to be.
All right, good.
And in terms of the cart barn, you mentioned the doors arrived today. That's great news. And what are the remaining hurdles to get a CO? And is there a target date for getting a CO on the cart barn?
There is some feedback. Matt, you might be this guy to talk to because I heard you had a good meeting today.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just jump into the golf operations side of things and some of the prep. So myself, the fire marshal, building official, were all part of that conversation, and it went pretty well. Essentially, they identified that we only need to install several minimal additional measures to make that temporary space meet the life safety requirements. So they've asked that what we do is hold off installing the terminal pole station for the fire alarm, which would not actually be active, just to not create a false sense of safety there. So we're going to blank out that and not have that installed at the moment. The next thing is he requested that 2 or 3 battery-powered smoke and CO detectors be installed within the bag storage room. And the last main life safety item was installing a battery-powered exit light and emergency light on the interior of the space over top of the door, just highlighting that that is, in fact, the exit. And beyond that, he was just also concerned with some of the signage, so making sure that, you know, it's readily understandable where that spot is, that space is on the site. So, you know, should a responder need to get there, they know how to get there, which we'll be doing certainly for that, as well as general golf operation wayfinding purposes. He also inquired about toilets, which I think we'll get into, or I'll bring up after this, and then also just making sure that there's drinkable water. So typically you'd require a drinking fountain. So we'll look into getting a water cooler, temporary water cooler within the space. Ian, is anything else that I missed there?
Yeah, lastly was just the hand sanitizer dispenser.
Hand sanitizer.
So, yeah, Matt hit everything else that was on that he had requested this morning.
Okay. I would say overall, as far as that meeting could have gone, it went really well, and the building official and fire marshal were rather accommodating for this temporary use, so that's appreciated. And we're starting to work right after that meeting to put together directives and get pricing and such for these various items. I know Dean has already provided a directive to Werner to get pricing for the emergency exit and light above the door, as well as giving them direction on not installing the termination for the pole station, the fire alarm pole station. So that's in motion. And then a couple other related topics that I can get to subsequent in case there are any questions are just some initial thoughts on pricing for temporary toilets and stuff.
So before we get to the detail on the porta potties and such, just back to the more general questions. Everything that you listed seems like it's pretty manageable, but is it all stuff that can get done in 2 weeks? Are we targeting Monday, April 27th as the date for its CO, or do we have a target date?
Well, Craig, hold on. With everything that's going on, is the town still planning on opening up May 1st?
The direction that I've received from Anthony was that he's hopeful and optimistic that it all depends on how this whole COVID-19 curve looks over the next couple weeks, and the decision won't be made until much closer. But we should try to get a CO the last week of April so that Jim can get in there and set up. If they get the green light to open on May 1st, they want to be able to open on May 1st.
So to Craig's question, I think, as you had said, they're rather small items. I think pending just shipping type of things, I would imagine that these are doable things within the time frame that we have.
Okay. And then obviously the doors were delivered today, so that's going to get installed. I don't know if the electrical is going to be completed by a date certain, or if there are other things that are not on your list from today's meeting, but on the list for Werner to, if all that's doable in 2 weeks as well. I mean, ideally, what I'd like to do, or what I'd like to see, is us target Monday the 27th for a CO.
I don't want to speak out of turn, Max, so maybe you can just confirm. But when I spoke with Dean earlier today, he is targeting, hold up the calendar, the 24th or 27th for final inspection.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's been our end date, and we're shooting for it.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
I move on to the other, so two specific items at the moment I wanted to bring up with respect to the golf operations. I think we've mentioned the first one in the past, but the Golf Pro is able to function off of wirelessly. So that's helpful in that we don't need to be able have to bring out hardwire data cabling to that temporary space, as that was never planned. And we're able to utilize a Wi-Fi hotspot and essentially a burner cell phone to be able to allow the pro shop to operate. My understanding is that the committee would cover the cost to help them operate, whether that would be, to hook up something hardwired or otherwise. And essentially what I found out speaking with the pro, Anthony from Parks and Rec, as well as the IT director in town, is we should be able to operate off of a Wi-Fi hotspot and a burner cell phone. From the IT director, I received an estimate that the Wi-Fi hotspot would be roughly $40 a month to add to the Parks and Rec existing contract, and then the cell phone, which would just be like a flip cell phone, not a smartphone or anything, another $30 a month. So we would be looking at roughly $70 a month for 7-ish months. To be able to help them operate out of that space for Wi-Fi. So that's about $500 for that time period. While I don't know the exact cost of that at the moment, those seem to be pretty good estimates from the IT director who was able to get into their contract. And in the meanwhile, it would be great if that seems like a good direction and something that's reasonable to the committee. I'd like to be able to start moving Parks and Rec and IT forward on obtaining those pieces of equipment.
Matt, I have a question for you.
Sure.
We were concerned about let me take a step back. All of this is a much cheaper alternative than if we had arranged for hardwire connectivity to the cart farm, right? So this is a savings opportunity for us over trying to spend the money to hardwire everything. So that's kind of the one preamble. But the other concern that we had was that the cell phone signal itself was not very strong.
So I talked with the IT director about that today, and when we were out there in mid-March, prior to going out there, he had given me a phone app to be able to test my speed while I was out there. So I did that, and when speaking with him earlier today, he actually frowned upon the cell booster a little bit, as sometimes it can complicate things, which is probably what you were getting towards, Craig. But when I read him the actual speeds off of that test, he said that those seemed adequate to run what they would likely be running, 2 or 3 computers and a cell phone up there.
if Fairfield IT director is saying we don't need to worry about boosting the cell signal, great, and we don't have an issue.
I think his caveat was obviously he thinks this should work. It should be enough. Right now, we're testing it with 5 people on site on different networks. So when there's 40 people out on the course, potentially half of them on the same network, there might be a little bit of impact. But he didn't seem to be too concerned. And obviously, it would be. We think this is going to work, and if it's not, then we'll have to adapt.
Right. Okay, so do you need direction from us to move forward on a burner cell phone in the Wi-Fi hotspot? Or what do you need?
I don't know, Corinne, are you still on? Do we need official approvals to be able to start moving forward with, expenditures to fit out the cart barn for the pro shop?
Are we purchasing all that stuff separately?
I'm sorry?
We're purchasing all that separately, right? It's not in Warner's contract.
Correct. Yeah, it will not be in Warner's contract.
Okay, so what is the estimate? What are we actually purchasing? Is anything over $3,000?
No, it's monthly fees, $70 a month for 7 months, $400, $500.
And what's that for?
The cell phone and Wi-Fi hotspot to operate the golf pro shop.
That's fine. Dave probably has that all on state contracts anyway. Is Dave probably gonna initiate that, or is the committee? You're working with Dave on that anyway, right?
Well, yeah, I spoke with him earlier. It's the Verizon contract is through Parks and Rec, so it would just be added onto that. It's more just do I need official approval from the committee to be able to start moving that stuff forward?
Because they're paying for it, I would have them vote on it just because it's coming out of their account.
Okay.
Right? Because we're paying for it. Rec isn't going to pay for it. Is that correct?
Correct. That's
But if it's showing up on the Park and Rec's bill as an addition to them, how are we going to reimburse Park and Rec? How do we?
They're going to each month. Anthony is going to send me that bill, and I will mark it up and include the percentage of or portion of which should be billed to the project, and that'll be included in your invoice packet.
Can't we just do it as a final change order after we're all said and done as one? I mean, you're talking about a total of $700 for the total cost of
$490. Yeah. Small.
So, is Anthony going to bill us monthly, or is he going to send us a bill when the project's done? I mean,
He's probably going to bill us monthly.
And how are we going to pay him? Corinne, how do we pay? What do we transfer money internally?
I would probably create a purchase order under your account, and I would either receive on it or he'd split the bill. We'll work that out. That's easy.
Okay. So if it's going to be a monthly, then
I would just go within your minutes. I would approve a not to exceed number, and then once we start receiving the bills, I'll create a blanket PO. We'll work it out that way. But you're gonna be approving your portion of the invoices no matter what.
Yeah.
So it'll be part of the monthly invoices because it'll be wrapped into what we pay monthly.
Correct.
So we just need to we need to put it on a job line, right? We need to put it on somewhere in the budget on a line item?
Correct.
Because it's not there, right?
Is it already in your budget or not?
Not that specific expenditure for that specific amount, but we do have a line item for temporary space and operations that it would be built underneath.
So if it's already built under something that's already in the job line, then the committee shouldn't need to vote on it because it's just part of what we expected to do anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we should just go ahead and do it. And if the bills come in and start to be outrageous, then we have a different process. But if we already have a line in the budget for the temporary operations of the golf, then it would just get spilled under that line.
Yeah, I agree, Hal. We're going to approve each invoice request or transfer when it comes through, but, we're talking a small dollar amount. We should just hold on.
$400.
Yep. Okay. What about bathrooms, Matt?
Yeah, so Scott and I from my office have started to pull quotes for temporary toilets. We've received one so far, but I think it gives a little bit of a glimpse. Essentially, we're looking at two different options. I know the committee has expressed a desire to move forward with temporary toilet trailer, but I thought it'd be best to also just show, given the amount of money that those do cost on a monthly basis, to look at the cost of portable toilets. I know Craig had also potentially suggested that dependent upon the time frame or the calendar, maybe one is appropriate during a certain time and another is appropriate during a different time. So I'll just put up what we have so far. I'll also read it so anybody on the screen can see where we're at the moment, but I'll read it for those that are on the phone. So a toilet trailer, 3 stalls, so that's essentially a woman, a man, and an ADA, a separate ADA, is about $6,727 from, this is one provider. We're going to be getting other quotes as well, but I would say that it's in the range that I've seen in the past. That price includes the pumping and refilling of the waste, as well as the cleaning of the units. There's a setup fee, and basically, if you look at 3 months, so one of the thoughts is that a toilet trailer would be more appropriate during the summer months, and during the shoulder months, a portable toilet might be more appropriate. So at 3 months, it's $20,550 to rent and set up. And then for 6 months, so if it was the entire time, at least through October, it would be just shy of $41,000. The other thing that makes these a little bit more, adds a little bit level of difficulty to it, is in locating the trailer itself, because they do require electric hookup as well as water hookup. So this would somewhat limit the location possibilities. The best location thus far that's been identified to be able to have those access points is essentially where those town's sheds were next to Werner's trailer. So it would be just behind Werner's trailer. There's water and power right there.
Yes.
The second option from the same vendor, this is for 2 ADA, full ADA porta potties, and this includes cleaning and pumping out, as well as hand sanitizer within the unit itself. It doesn't have it's not a separate, if you've seen at a concert or another type of outdoor venue where there's a separate hand washing station. That's another thing that we're working on getting priced as a potential variant to this. But that's $1,514 a month. So if you're looking at 3 months, it's $4,600, and 6 months, it's $9,200. Obviously, these don't require power or water, so the location is much more flexible.
And is it, you've got 2 porta potties there. Is it safe to say that those are pro rata? So if we said 3, it would be $2,200 and change. $2,300.
Yeah, I think it's $600 and change per month per unit. But also the ADA units themselves are more expensive than the standard units. So this is what Scott had priced out the 2 ADA, which isn't a bad method to go.
No.
But you could potentially, have one ADA and one non, or one ADA and two non, depending on.
Yeah, I was thinking we probably need 3, but.
Well, get 4. I mean,
yeah, or 4. Yeah.
I mean, you're $18,000 for 6 months versus $40,000.
Yep.
I think it's a no-brainer, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that we need to go to the 4.
I mean, if you wanted a luxury, you can go to 4, and.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't afford luxuries.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
So I think
I don't dispute that.
I think we stay with the 2 ADA compliant regular porta potties. You know what? We've been using them on the golf course for 20 years. People will understand that it's a new clubhouse and this is what it is. But as long as they're cleaned on a regular basis, because we gotta, let's be honest, the guys aren't really.
This includes cleaning twice a week.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
It's not the guys that we're worried about. It's the women who are the ones that are going to need the, more so than anybody else. So I just want to make sure that we have that kind of schedule.
I would take it a step further.
Do you have a cost for non-ADA?
I don't, but we're working on that.
Yeah, can you get that cost, and maybe we go 2 ADA and 1 non?
Yeah, and like I said, we're still getting, this is just United Site Services, where we've requested quotes from 2 other companies as well.
Right.
The only thing I would say, guys, is especially given the circumstances with the current virus situation, I think we need a hand washing station.
That was the other thing I was going to suggest, and was actually something that was mentioned by the building official. He was certainly focused on sanitation during that conversation. I think it would go a long way with him, and just in general, I think it would be a nice middle ground to include a hand washing station as well. Like I said, we'll work on getting pricing on that.
Does that need water, or is that tank water?
Yeah, but we have water right there.
Some do and some don't, but there is, like Craig said, depending upon where you would want to put these, there is water. Whether it's right near the car barn or near the other teeth.
Hey, Matt, so this is Corinne really quickly. I just sent you, I think I sent it to you already, I just sent it to you again, like our town bid for the portable toilets. So we have a price for the weekly standard portable toilet. It's $43.90 per unit per week. Obviously, you guys are working off monthly cost, but I think that's subject to like a COLA increase, so say like another 2%. And then our handicap portables are $63.90 per week. So that's
I'll certainly review that then.
Yeah, so I just sent that through. That used to be I would be shocked if they don't send back a renewal, but I'll make sure that I get them all renewal letter, like ASAP, and know, like for sure what their rates are. But I would take these numbers and add like another 2%.
Okay.
Well, but the $43.90 or $63.90 is a far cry, well short of the $600 or $700 a month.
Right.
So it makes sense to leverage that contract. I think we're all in agreement that we're not gonna move forward with the trailer unless people are. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, but is that a fair assessment?
I think it's fair.
Okay.
Fair.
Well, I think that's ultimately what I was looking for, is just direction. Yeah.
Yeah. The direction for you is we're not going high-end trailer. We'll go with let's leverage the contract that Corinne mentioned. I think it makes sense to get 3. I don't know if we need 4, but and then if we could find out about the hand washing station, it sounds like we could do all of that under the numbers that you had presented, so we should be okay. Okay.
Hey Matt, this is Dean. I think the governor has put a requirement that porta potties now must be cleaned every other day.
Oh, every other day now?
During the pandemic, yeah, that was a recent change that came out of the governor's office, that all porta potties serving the public must be cleaned every other day. So just make sure that you have enough paving that meets Connecticut's requirements.
Will do. Thanks, Dean.
And, not to be a contrarian, but, under the current circumstances, I'm not sure our first selectman wouldn't want us to go high end and have like full functioning bathrooms with hand washing abilities through this summer, and maybe the town is willing to put some money towards this, because otherwise, it's porta potties. I don't care how often you clean them.
Yeah, Jack,
that's going to be the look she wants.
Jack, I've been listening to the budget meetings that have been going on in town that they've been doing virtually, and they're scraping for every dollar that they can get their hands on right now. I don't think the first selectman is going to offer us anything
But this is what I can do. I can contact Anthony tomorrow, let him know that based on the pricing that we've seen, we are inclined to move forward with the porta potties. If Anthony wants to consider something else, and if he wants to pay for it out of his budget, and if he finds a way, that's fine, right?
He wants to pay the difference.
I don't want this to affect whether or not they open the course. That's the only thing. Okay.
Well, the course isn't open until the end of May anyway, so.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. Anything else, Matt?
No, I think that covers what I had.
Okay, great. That takes us to Silver. Dean, anything? Appreciate you hanging in through this.
Yeah, no problem. No, I think Max hit you with where the project is in terms of the update, and since it's 8:09, we've talked enough. Unless anybody has questions, I think everybody gets a sense of where the project is.
The only question that I have is we haven't really talked about it in this forum, but what's going on with the timber and steel connections for the main clubhouse, and is that all resolved and moving forward, or is there still some dispute there?
Everything is resolved and moving forward.
Dean, have you received shop drawings yet? Steel shop drawings?
I don't believe we have seen them yet, but maybe Max can tell me if they're in the works or not.
Being told we'll expect them Thursday.
I'm sorry?
I'm reporting that we should see them on Thursday is what I'm being told. Probably to you by Friday.
2 days, okay? That's good. And I'm sure, Dean, you guys are going to turn them around as quick as possible.
So when are we expecting steel delivery?
Friday.
You're expecting steel delivery Friday?
Oh,
That was Don.
I know.
Max, what is your schedule for steel delivery?
We should be able to update you guys once we get the approved shop drawings. That'll get us in a fab window, and I'll be able to report once we have the approved shops back.
okay. That's all we can ask. That's fair.
And just one more quick item, Craig. Max, would you expect that you can start wood framing ahead of steel framing in parallel, that you can make some progress on framing of the clubhouse, even if you're waiting for steel?
Yes, so for the past 2 weeks, Gene has been arranging with the multiple trades. Dean's office released the steel that's necessary for us to start the framing. And we're pushing ahead to get the left and the right side of the building framing started, and leaving the center where that steel is going to be assembled at a later date.
Okay, great.
That's great. Okay, anything else for Dean at Silver? Not hearing any. Okay, subcommittees and subgroups. Rod, anything you want to share about the construction subcommittee?
you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but that's fine. Schedule. When are we going to get an updated schedule, and why is the schedule not discussed at each meeting on Thursday? The overall schedule. Why isn't that an updated schedule not presented?
You're talking about a critical path schedule?
I'm talking critical path or Gantt, baseline schedule. Why is not the baseline schedule updated each week and presented at the meeting?
I think it was asked of us. I think it was asked of us to discuss from the beginning that it would be monthly, which we've been providing. Matt has a copy. I don't know if it was circulated in time for this meeting.
I just got it yesterday afternoon. I will circulate it after this meeting.
Do you guys go over
per contract, the Werner is to provide a monthly overall project update, and they do a 2-week look ahead at every OAC meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. Why couldn't you tell me that yesterday?
Sorry. I don't think you asked that question.
Yeah, it was asked, but anyway. Just a reminder, we spent some money today. We are at, I think it was around 60% encumbered on our contingency, and we're 26% complete on the project. Keep that in mind, folks.
Thanks, Dad.
We need to flatten the curve, Rod.
Right.
We need to flatten the curve. That was dead silence. That was a showstopper.
Gotcha. Well, all right. Anything else, Rod, before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right. Is anyone from the Golf Commission on? Is Keith on? Anyone else? Anyone from Parks and Rec? Anyone from RTM? Anyone from the public? All right, we've gotten through our agenda. Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Hal.
Second.
Thanks, Jack. All right,
You're
everyone,
welcome.
have a great week. Stay safe. And,
Great job. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And everyone, have a good night. Appreciate everyone's time.
Bye.
We can connect tomorrow.
Okay, I'm working from home too, so that's good.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.